He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, surrounded by power, influence, and applause. Yet on Christmas night, Ethan Cole sat alone on a frozen bench in the heart of Chicago, shaking as tears burned down his face. Minutes earlier, his mother had died calling his name, while his phone lay silent in a boardroom he chose over her. The city glittered around him, but inside everything had collapsed. Then a small voice cut through the cold. A black child in a red coat stood in front of him, fearless, sincere, and heartbreakingly kind. What the boy said next wasn't loud, but it shattered something deep inside Ethan, forcing him to face a truth he had avoided his entire life. What began as a moment of grief would soon expose hidden prejudice, ignite public outrage, and push a powerful man toward a choice that could destroy everything he built, or finally make him human. Stay until the end, because one sentence from a 5-year-old will trigger a confrontation no one saw coming. Snow fell quietly over Millennium Park, softening the sharp edges of downtown Chicago. The city was dressed for Christmas, lights glowing along Michigan Avenue, couples laughing as they passed steaming cups of coffee back and forth, children dragging parents toward ice rinks and holiday stalls. But Ethan Cole saw none of it. He sat alone on a frozen metal bench near the edge of the park, his expensive wool coat pulled tight, his shoulders hunched like a man trying to disappear. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the call he had received less than an hour earlier. His mother was gone. Margaret Cole, the woman who had raised him alone after his father died, the woman who had believed in him when his first startup collapsed, the woman who had waited by the phone every Sunday, even when he stopped calling, had died in a hospital room in Cleveland, asking for her son, and he hadn't been there. Ethan had been in a boardroom. Phones silenced. Assistants instructed not to interrupt. The acquisition had been too important. There was always something too important. Now the deal was done. The company's stock would rise in the morning, and his mother would never wake up again. For the first time in years, Ethan cried openly. No press, no investors, no staff, just a man breaking apart on a public bench while the city celebrated. That was when a small voice cut through the noise. "Mister, are you hurt?" Ethan flinched, instinctively wiping his face. He looked up and saw a black boy, no more than 5 years old, standing a few feet away. The child wore a bright red winter coat that looked slightly too big, jeans dusted with snow, and a knit hat pulled down over his ears. In his hands was a crinkled gold gift bag. The boy wasn't afraid. He wasn't curious in the way adults were. He was worried. Before Ethan could answer, he felt it, the shift in the air around them. A couple slowed their pace. A woman across the path glanced over, then looked again, her expression tightening. A man nudged his partner and whispered something. The looks weren't loud, but they were sharp. A white man, a black child, late at night, in a park. Ethan noticed it instantly. He had lived his entire life without needing to think about moments like this. Now suddenly he was painfully aware of how it looked, how quickly strangers filled in their own stories. The boy noticed none of it. "My mom says crying means something really bad happened," the child said seriously. "Did you lose someone?" Ethan swallowed. Yes, he said quietly. "I lost my mom." The boy's face changed, not dramatically, just softer, like he understood more than he should. He nodded once, slowly, as if filing the information away. Then he said the words that would split Ethan open in a way grief alone could not. "Don't cry, sir. You can borrow my mom." Ethan froze. The boy rushed to explain, worried he hadn't said it right. "She's really good at hugs when people are sad, and she makes hot chocolate even when it's not Christmas. You can have some too." Ethan felt his chest collapse inward. Before he could respond, a woman hurried toward them, boots crunching over the snow. "Isaiah!" Her voice was firm, edged with fear. She reached the boy in seconds, placing a hand on his shoulder and pulling him slightly closer. Lena Brooks was in her mid-30s, black, wearing a pale blue coat that had clearly seen more winters than it should have. Her eyes flicked from her son to Ethan, then briefly to the people watching nearby. Her body shifted, subtle, protective. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, her tone polite but guarded. "He wandered off. I told him to stay close." "It's okay," Ethan said. "He didn't do anything wrong." Lena hesitated, clearly assessing the situation. Years of experience had taught her to read a room fast. She noticed the stares, the silence, the way people slowed just enough to watch. Isaiah looked up at her. "Mom, he's sad. His mom died." Lena's expression faltered. She looked at Ethan differently now, not as a potential problem, but as a man sitting in visible pain. "I'm sorry," she said more softly. That's a terrible loss." Something in her voice, real empathy, not practiced sympathy, made Ethan exhale shakily. They stood there awkwardly, the cold seeping through everything. Without fully deciding to, Lena gestured toward the bench. "Do you mind if we sit?" she asked. "It's freezing, and he refuses to go home without showing me every light in the park." Ethan nodded. "Please." They sat. Isaiah climbed up between them like it was the most natural thing in the world, swinging his legs and clutching the gift bag. "What's in the bag?" Ethan asked, mostly to hear a normal sound come out of his mouth. Isaiah brightened. "A picture I made for my dad." "Oh," Lena stiffened slightly. Isaiah continued cheerfully. "He died, but Mom says he can still see it." Ethan looked at Lena. She met his eyes for just a second and gave a tiny nod, a shared understanding of loss. The crowd slowly moved on. The tension eased, but it didn't disappear entirely. Lena noticed it. She always did. She had learned to exist in public spaces with one hand metaphorically wrapped around her child. They talked quietly. About nothing at first. The cold, the snow, how crowded the trains were tonight. Then, without planning to, Ethan told them about his mother. Not the hospital details, not the business call, just the memories. The way she used to leave the porch light on. The way she said his full name when she was proud of him. Lena listened without interrupting. Isaiah leaned against her arm, slowly growing still. For the first time since the phone rang, Ethan didn't feel completely alone. He didn't notice when Isaiah fell asleep. He didn't notice the time. What he did notice, deep in his chest, was something dangerous. Hope. And he had no idea how complicated that hope was about to become. Before you move on, let me ask you something. Have you ever judged a moment too quickly, only to realize later how wrong you were? Yes or no? Your answers matter, because what happens next will test every assumption you think you hold. Ethan didn't plan to see Lena Brooks and Isaiah again. That was what he told himself as he walked back to his high-rise that night. The doorman greeting him with practiced warmth, the elevator gliding upward in perfect silence. The apartment was immaculate, floor-to-ceiling windows, a city that bowed at his feet, and yet the space felt hollow. He poured himself a drink he didn't want, stared at a view he'd paid millions for, and kept seeing a small red coat, a pair of trusting eyes, and the way the air in Millennium Park had changed when strangers decided, without words, that something about that moment looked wrong. The next morning, the headlines were about his company, a record-breaking acquisition, analysts calling him visionary. His assistant lined up meetings, condolences woven awkwardly between agenda items. No one asked how he was doing. At noon, his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Lena Brooks. He stared at the screen longer than necessary before answering. "I hope it's okay that I'm calling," she said. Isaiah kept asking if the sad man was still sad. Ethan closed his eyes. "I'm not as sad as I was, thanks to him." There was a pause. Then, "We were going to Millennium Park again this afternoon. If you wanted to, you don't have to. I just thought I'd ask." He said yes before fear could catch up. They met near the skating rink. The park was louder in daylight. Families, music, the scrape of blades on ice. Isaiah ran toward him, nearly slipping, laughing when Ethan steadied him. For a few minutes, it felt normal. Too normal. They walked, talked. Lena mentioned her job at an elementary school on the south side, the constant budget cuts, the way parents stretched every dollar. Ethan listened, genuinely listening, and found himself saying less and less. Then it happened. They stopped near a food stand. Ethan stepped aside to pay, handing over his card. Isaiah wandered a few steps away, still within sight, staring at a snow globe display. A uniformed security guard approached the boy. "Hey, buddy," the man said, his tone sharp, eyes scanning the crowd. "Where's your parent?" Lena turned immediately. I'm right here. The guard didn't look at her. He looked at Ethan. Is this your kid? He asked. The question landed like a slap. Ethan felt heat rise to his face. No, he's with his mom. The guard frowned. We've had complaints about unattended children, and people reported. He hesitated, then continued. A situation that looked off. Lena stepped forward, voice steady but tight. My son was never unattended. The guard finally met her eyes. His expression didn't soften. Ma'am, I'll need you to move along. Around them, people slowed. Phones came out, not openly, but subtly. The old familiar choreography of public judgment. Isaiah looked up, confused. Mom? Ethan's chest tightened. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This wasn't an article or a panel discussion. This was happening, right now. I'm leaving, Lena said, pulling Isaiah closer. We don't want trouble. No, Ethan said, louder than he intended. There is no trouble. The guard's attention snapped back to him. Recognition flickered. A billionaire CEO. The posture shifted. The voice lowered. Sir, I didn't realize. That's the problem, Ethan cut in. You didn't realize what exactly? Silence. People watched. Some uncomfortable, some curious, a few clearly satisfied to see tension unfold. I'm asking, Ethan continued, his voice controlled but sharp. What about this looked off to you? The guard glanced around, then said quietly, Sir, we're just doing our job. Lena laughed once. Not humor. Exhaustion. We know, she said. You always are. She turned away, pulling Isaiah with her. Ethan followed. They didn't speak until they were several blocks away, the noise of the park fading behind them. I'm sorry, Ethan said. The words felt inadequate the moment they left his mouth. Lena stopped walking. This isn't on you, she said, but now you've seen it. He nodded. I have. She looked at him closely. Most people don't believe us when we talk about this. They think we're exaggerating or being sensitive. Isaiah tugged on Ethan's sleeve. Did I do something bad? Ethan crouched to the boy's level. No, you did nothing wrong, ever. The answer felt like a promise he didn't yet know how to keep. That evening, Ethan invited them to dinner. Lena hesitated. She knew what people would think. She knew the comments, the whispers, the unspoken assumptions. But she also saw something different in Ethan now. Not pity, not guilt. Awareness. They went. The restaurant was upscale. White tablecloths, soft lighting. The kind of place where people assumed everyone belonged, until proven otherwise. They were proven otherwise immediately. A hostess smiled too tightly. A server hesitated before addressing Lena. A couple at the next table stared openly, whispering. Isaiah swung his legs under the table, oblivious. Halfway through the meal, a man approached their table. Middle-aged, confident. He looked directly at Ethan. Didn't expect to see you here, he said, ignoring Lena entirely. Interesting company. Ethan stood. She's not company, he said evenly. She's a guest and she's with me. The man smirked. Of course. Lena's hands trembled, just slightly. Ethan saw it. For the first time, he understood something terrifying. How often she had swallowed moments like this. How often she'd chosen silence to protect her child. He didn't stay silent. Apologize, Ethan said. The man laughed. For what? For assuming she doesn't belong. The room felt smaller. People listened now. The man scoffed and walked away, muttering under his breath. Dinner ended quietly. Outside, Lena exhaled like she'd been holding her breath all night. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, Ethan replied. I did. He meant it. But as he watched Lena take Isaiah's hand, he realized something darker was coming. Standing up once was easy. What came next would cost him far more. And neither of them knew yet how public, how ugly, or how irreversible it was about to become. The storm didn't come all at once. It began quietly, the way real consequences always do. 2 days after the incident at the restaurant, a short video surfaced online. Someone had filmed the confrontation. The whispers, the smirk, Ethan standing up, his voice calm but unyielding. The clip was only 30 seconds long, but it spread faster than anything Ethan's company had ever launched. Headlines followed. Some praised him for speaking up. Others questioned his motives. A few accused him of performative allyship. Ethan read none of it. What he did read was an email from his board of directors, requesting an urgent discussion about public image risk. Lena found out that evening when Ethan came by her apartment on the south side. Isaiah was coloring on the floor, humming to himself, blissfully unaware of how fragile the adult world really was. "You don't have to come anymore," Lena said quietly after Ethan told her. "This is exactly what I was afraid of." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. "I'm not here because it's easy," he said. "I'm here because it's right." She wanted to believe him, but belief had cost her too much before. The next morning, the board meeting was brutal. They praised Ethan's leadership, his vision, his success. Then they told him, politely, strategically, that his involvement in racially sensitive situations could jeopardize investor confidence. They suggested distance, silence, a carefully worded statement. Ethan listened. Then he stood. "My mother raised me to be present," he said. "I failed her when it mattered most. I won't fail again." The room went quiet. "I'm not stepping back," he continued. "I'm stepping forward." He walked out knowing exactly what it might cost him. The backlash came fast. Sponsors paused. A major partner withdrew. Social media turned vicious, dissecting Lena's life, questioning her intentions, digging into her past like pain was public property. Lena saw the comments before Ethan could warn her. She cried that night, not because of the insults, she'd learned to live with those, but because Isaiah might see them someday. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered, sitting on the edge of her bed while Isaiah slept. "I just wanted to protect my son." Ethan knelt in front of her. "And you have, every day." Then he did something no one expected. He called a press conference, not in a boardroom, not behind a podium, in Millennium Park, the same bench, the same place. Cameras gathered, reporters murmured, people watched online, waiting for damage control. What they got instead was truth. Ethan spoke about his mother, about loss, about how grief had opened his eyes to moments he'd ignored his entire life. Then he spoke about Lena and Isaiah. He didn't frame them as symbols. He didn't speak for them. He spoke about what he had witnessed. "I saw how quickly assumptions are made," he said. "I saw how a black child can be treated as suspicious simply for existing. I saw how a black mother carries the weight of that fear every single day." The crowd was silent. "I don't want applause," Ethan continued. "I want accountability, starting with myself." He announced the creation of an independent foundation, funded not by branding, but by personal equity, focused on legal support, education funding, and community safety programs led by people who live these realities, not studied them from afar. Then he did the most important thing. He stepped aside. Lena walked forward, heart pounding. Cameras turned to her. She hadn't prepared a speech. She didn't need one. "I'm not here to be brave," she said. "I'm here because my son deserves a world where kindness doesn't make people suspicious." Isaiah stood next to her, holding her hand. The story changed overnight. Not because racism ended, but because people listened. The months that followed weren't perfect. Ethan lost deals. He gained others. His company survived, leaner, quieter, more intentional. Lena kept teaching. The foundation helped repair her school's roof, then its library, then scholarships. Isaiah thrived. One evening, nearly a year later, the three of them sat on the same bench in Millennium Park. Snow fell again, just like the first night. Isaiah was bigger now, louder, still curious. "Do you still miss your mom?" he asked Ethan. Ethan smiled softly. "Every day." Isaiah nodded. "That's okay. My mom says love doesn't go away, it just changes shape." Lena reached for Ethan's hand, this time without hesitation. They weren't a perfect family. They were a real one, built slowly, carefully, chosen, and that was enough. As they sat together, people passed by. Some stared, some smiled. Most didn't notice at all, and for the first time that felt like progress. Because love didn't need an audience, it just needed courage. Before you leave, let me ask you a few things. Your answers matter. How did this story make you feel? Angry, hopeful, or reflective? What do you think about Ethan's choice to risk everything to speak up? Did this story change the way you see everyday moments of racial bias? If you like this story, comment 1 on Len below so I know you stayed until the end. Tell me which country you're watching from. I truly want to know how far this story has traveled. And if this touched your heart, please share the video. Someone else might need this story today. Thank you for listening.